And we are live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Basement Radio Arcade podcast number 74. And we are excited to welcome our brother from Rivia, Sam. Sam is back with us after.
Guess who's back?
Yeah, exactly. Guess who's back? Sam, dude, hey, let me just say something. We missed having you on. I know you've been extremely busy. You went to E3, and if some of you may not know, but Sam's actually the assistant editor in chief, if I'm not mistaken, at Real Game Media.
Yep.
And so
it's been crazy. It still is crazy even after the fact, but it's good to be here. Good to be able to share some stuff. Hopefully all you guys have been doing really well.
Hey, Sam, I just want to say, man, big shout out to your brothers, man. They actually hopped in a couple podcasts, man, while you were out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it was I forget your brother's names, and I apologize.
No problem.
Is it Micah?
Yep.
And there's another one.
Micah and Joseph, yep.
Joseph, yeah, they were actually in. You know what's funny, man? They were like the first ones. One of the podcasts, they were like the first ones in the live chat, and it was 9 o'clock. They're like, they're like, well, why hasn't the show started yet? But yeah, but that was big of them to show up. So big shout out to them, man. We definitely appreciate it. So Sam, man, so you've got back from E3. You've been writing a lot. Before we get to all that stuff, because we're going to give everyone Sam's E3 takes, let's talk about what you've been playing, if you've had time to play anything.
Not nowhere near as much as I would have liked, being honest, but I have found a little bit of time to play some stuff. I've been toying around with Total War Warhammer, because I love RTS games, and Creative Assembly makes the best RTS games. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. Picked it up on the Steam sale. It's really fun if you're into, long-term strategy, that sort of thing.
Dude, Warhammer, is it good?
If you like RTS games, like it's fantastic, especially if you love like the Warhammer lore of the old world and all that. But it's not going to change your mind if you don't like RTS games. It is a complicated RTS game. You have to manage provinces and armies. But if you are into that, then you're going to have an absolute blast.
Nice.
And I actually got to play the sequel at E3, which is
nice,
which was really cool. Then the other thing I've been having some time to play is I've been playing Wolfenstein: The New Order on Uber. Holy crap, that game is difficult on Uber, to say the absolute least. It's ridiculous, but it's still a lot of fun.
That's such a great game.
It holds up really well from 2014. And then we've got that coming up, the new Colossus coming up this year. That's going to be absolutely huge. Reception is universally positive. And I see you, all those different sites that pretended they didn't give it a 7 or a 6 or even an 8 the first time around with its 79 Metacritic average. Don't think you're going to be forgotten, but it's all good.
Sam, I got to be honest with you, man. It's one of those games. Like, it's kind of a head scratcher. Like, you're right. Like, there's certain sites that like gave it a 6 or 7. It's 79 Metacritic, but to me, that was like one of my favorite games that I've played this console gen.
It was one of the major reasons 2014 was such a good year, and it's like, wait, what? I don't know. I mean, to each their own. Opinions are valid, but that is a phenomenal shooter.
I definitely think it's fantastic. Higher than a 79. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. It's great. It's good stuff. Almost finished my Uber run through. On the very last chapter right now. I was actually hoping to wrap it up this morning, but I ran out of time, so it's like, all right, fine.
Nice.
Tomorrow. Man. It's all good. But that's all I've had time to play. I actually have been very busy other than that.
Nice, man. Well, at least you've gotten some gaming time, man. That's good, man.
Yeah,
despite being
have to fit in a little, right?
Absolutely. So I've been before we went live, we were talking about Rise. I've been playing a lot of Rise lately. And as we discussed earlier before we went live, I'm really enjoying this game the second time around. I think it's much better than what the reviews had to say about the game. I think this is one of the games where I would really love to see a sequel. I don't know if we'll ever get one, but the QTE is so much fun. It's so much fun. Like I said to you earlier.
It is QTE spam, but that's not a problem. That it's one of those situations where it's actually a really good thing.
Yeah, it is. And like I said earlier, like it's like there's nothing more satisfying to me than when I'm battling 5 barbarians, and I'm just locking down those combos, and I'm hitting them with, I'm countering their attacks with my shield, and then I'm just countering, and then I'm comboing them, and getting those kills. It's just, I don't know, man. It just gets me a little hyped.
It's good. It's a fun game. I actually replayed that about a month and a half ago. It was just a little bit of time before I went to E3. Yeah, it's a good game. It's not perfect, but it's way better than most people let on at launch.
Absolutely. I agree with that 110%. And who knows, maybe one day we get a sequel.
Well, if Crytek wisens up and actually sells the rights, pretty much is what that is. But
they should have. They should have sold Microsoft off for two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. That's another head scratcher, but oh well.
Yeah. And then I just started playing GTA 5 again. I picked that up for the PlayStation 4. B Money and I were trying to rank up so we can do the heist. And we hopped into the online game, and we just got owned. It was bad, man. Like we're doing a mission, and like
I'm sorry, but that's funny.
Oh, dude, it was terrible. It wasn't even fun. It was like we hopped online, and we jump into a mission, and we're trying to I think we're trying to murder like a CEO or something, and we're driving around. And all of a sudden, our car blows up, and the wasted icon comes on my screen, and B1 are like, "Whoa, what happened?" Like, right? We didn't know what happened. And then we saw that their guy on a moped drove past us and shot us with a rocket launcher, right? So we respawn at the same point, close to the same point, and we get in the car. Guess what happens? We get blown up.
You blow up?
Yeah, same guy. Same guy. It was just,
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's that, it wasn't fun. We were kind of like, okay, we're going to hop off. And I did pick up Ghost Recon Wildlands. Do you have that for the consoles?
No, I do not have Ghost Recon Wildlands.
So I picked that up on the summer sale for the Xbox for like $38. And me, B Money, and Eric played that. That was actually fun. Like, we did a little co-op. That was actually pretty fun. Definitely like it. So we'll have to we need to get back on again and play that. But that's pretty much it for me, though, as far as gaming. But Sam, let's get to your E3 hot takes. Give us some of your thoughts on some of the games you saw that kind of really took you by surprise, that maybe some of us aren't really talking about, that you think maybe we should talk about.
Okay, that's really, really difficult, obviously, because first off, I mean, there was a good deal of surprises. There was a lot of good stuff, like Metro Exodus somehow staying secret all the way up until the reveal gameplay. That was excellent. I'm really looking forward to that. I know everyone's talking about that one, but I really have to give that one a mention and a shout out. Let's see, in terms of games that people aren't really aware of, but they need to be aware of. So there's a game called Vampire that is being developed by Don't Nod Entertainment. It's going to be published by Focus Home Interactive. They're aiming for this November, but realistically, it's probably going to get pushed back. Some ways, back from that, probably into next March or April would be my guess. Vampire needs to be on your radar. Now, Don't Nod Entertainment, just for a bit of background, is the same studio that made Life is Strange.
Great game.
Just a little FYI on that one, yeah. And that game took me by surprise. I picked it up on the PS Plus. It was free on PS Plus. Recently played through that. It took me by surprise. That was interesting. But they've applied a lot of that, what they've learned from Life is Strange, in terms of the emotional dialogue, the connections different characters have with each other. All that sort of thing. The relationships, and they've amplified it to the point that you don't just have a few NPCs interacting with each other. It's the city of London. You have a couple of hundred just in this little one district, and then there are multiple districts, and they each interact with each other in different ways. And your character, you play as Jonathan Reed, who is a surgeon who has been infected recently and turned into a vampire. So you have to balance your Hippocratic oath to help people and to administer treatment to heal the sick, with the fact that realistically, if you don't drink blood, you are going to wither and die.
Okay, so this guy's a doctor?
Yes, he's a doctor, former army surgeon, served in a couple of wars of British expansion, that sort of thing. It's set in 1918 Victorian London. This is just after the outbreak of the Spanish flu, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
And I've written a piece about it. It's on RGM right now. You guys can go take a look. I'll drop a link in the chat in case anyone's interested. And over the course of this 45-minute demo, they showed us a lot of different things like combat. You know, it's an RPG standby, right? But combat looks really good. You can combine different weapons with vampiric powers, all that sort of thing. But what's really interesting is they're actually basing this off of proper vampiric lore from what was set down in Dracula. So, for example, if you're investigating a case like, say, a murderer, you're tracking a murderer back to his house, you can't get inside that house. You have to be invited in. And if you have not been invited in, you're not getting in. That's all there is to it. But it's also going to be a hindrance if you're trying to help someone, not hurt them. Let's say you're not stalking prey, but you legitimately want to just come in for a dinner party to keep up appearances, to keep your cover up, or you have to go into someone's house to set a broken leg. Well, you need to figure out a way to get invited in fast. And that's just one little small thing. So I thought that was very interesting. They're paying a very close amount of detail, or a lot of attention to detail, rather, in lots of different things like that. I don't want to give any story spoilers because we did see a healthy section of the campaign. But it's going to be a big game. It's going to be about 50 hours. And if you're a fan of RPGs, if you're a fan of vampires, werewolves, Dracula, you need to keep an eye on it because they are onto something really, really big there.
Hey, Sam, real quick.
I would say, sure.
Sam, I don't want to interrupt. I just want to say hello to B Money. Just join us. What's up, B?
What's going on, fellas?
Hey, B. How you doing, man?
Been a long time, man.
It has been a very, very long time. It's been too long. Good to hear your voice again, man.
Yeah, you too, man. Glad
I was just telling these guys about Vampire. I think that's a game you know about.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
And I was telling all of them, if this is not on your radar, it needs to be on your radar.
Yeah, this is the one game where I was like, why is this not on anybody's stage at E3? Like, why didn't Sony or Microsoft, not put this on the stage? Because I think this is one of those games that, people are just kind of gloss over and that it needs to be on their radar. I've been watching like what Focus Home Interactive's been doing for a while. They've been adding a lot of games to the roster as far as the publishing side is concerned. And I think they're just one hit away from being, one of the next big publishers out there. And I think Vampire could actually set them over the top. So I'm really excited for it.
Agreed. Anchor and I have been talking about that actually a bit. And we agree, Focus Home's been looking for that big game to really push them into the AAA space. That this could be it. Easily. I hope it is. I hope this does really well for them. It looks fantastic.
I'm excited, Sam. I mean, just what you told me, dude. I mean, I've had my eye on this game, but what you just said just really, really, really excites me. I mean, I think it's an interesting dynamic to have a vampire as a doctor, and a vampire. I mean, that's really, really interesting.
Yeah. It's very interesting. They've got some good moral dilemmas, lots of a very dark, grim storyline, but it looks good. It looks really good.
I think it's really going to pull people in, man. Like, just from the story that I saw last year at E3, it looks very interesting, and it's got some really nice dynamics to the gameplay. So I think if people give it a shot, it could be something special.
Yeah, absolutely. They have a lot of potential with this. And I know that's a lot to say about one game, but Vampire really did impress me. That was an absolutely fantastic showing that they had there. Devs were all really, really nice, talking about answering our questions. It looks good. Let's see here. What other games did I actually myself? Assassin's Creed. So okay. I know everyone's probably been talking about this one a lot, but I did get a chance to actually play it for a few minutes. And it is true, it handles very differently. Now, there's some of the old standbys. Yeah, right. Exactly. It looks beautiful. That's just an side note. It looks really, really good. Egypt is a fantastic setting. But on top of that, oh, wait, we got someone joining us. Hey there.
Hello. Testing 1, 2, 3. What's going on, guys?
We have no, not this guy. How you doing, man?
What's happening? So you guys were streaming, wanted to catch it live as I usually try to do, and heard that you were down a man. Thought I'd come in and join in the conversation. So don't let me interrupt, Sam. Go ahead, continue what you were saying.
Oh yeah, so Assassin's Creed, it's a lot more difficult, which I think is a very good thing. You can't just insta-kill counter with your twin blades everybody. It's much more methodical. You actually have to stalk your targets, even with high level gear. In the section that I was able to play, I actually had, at least from what the developer was telling me, very high level weapons and good equipment. This was a chunk of the way into the storyline, and some side activities.
I think it was like level 20 that the demo was at for Assassin's
Creed.
Right.
So something like that. And so as a result, it's not, the point is, it's not like you were just starting out, right? This was a ways in, and the game doesn't get any easier with better equipment. It gets a little easier, but not much. You have to figure out, okay, I'm going to take this guy down with an arrowhead shot, then I got to roll around to this guy. We're going to set this on fire. It's a lot more strategic. It's a lot more methodical, and I like that. It sort of puts the assassin element back into things. You can't just take a bunch of guys on and expect to win against a small army every time, even if you are a really good fighter. The controls are a lot closer to, I would say, something like The Witcher or even Dark Souls, where you can lock an individual target and sort of circle strafe around them, roll around them, which that's perfectly fine by me, shockingly. So yeah, I think Assassin's Creed could be back this year. We'll obviously have to see. We need to see a lot more of it, but I think it looks really good.
That's so good to hear. By the way, you just said you said Dark Souls 3 and The Witcher. I'm like sold.
Yeah, obviously there's still different elements, but
Sure.
the combat, the combos seem to be moving more in that direction, which is fine by me.
Yeah, well, the combos are way less focused on parrying. That's the whole difference in playstyle. That's what people notice right away. They notice there's no, or there's not as much, I should say, countering. You don't get out of battles just by timing your presses exactly correctly to parry someone and then going for an execution and one hit kill, anything like that. It's you're gonna have to time your dodges properly. You're gonna have to use the smooth transition from range to melee attack pretty well. And yeah, I mean, I was digging it too, even though I'm not a huge fan of Dark Souls personally. I was a huge fan of the new play style that I checked out at E3 as well.
I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that.
Hey, some games just, sometimes I can admit I'm not a man when some games are too difficult. You know what I mean?
At least you can admit it.
Well, I mean, all that stuff sounds pretty good to me. We had talked about this game earlier this year, and I thought that they would come back in a big way. So it sounds like they've made some nice changes to the game, and I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, I'll leave Assassin's Creed with this. Someone who will remain anonymous, but who's very close to the team, has told me that they have taken the feedback to heart. That the reception that Unity got really did sting them. And that as a result, Syndicate was already well into development, so what they could do with Syndicate was extremely limited by that period of time. But that the team really does want to take things back to the drawing board and really make the game something special again. Nice. Which is good. That's encouraging.
Yeah, I haven't played Syndicate. I've heard some good things about that. And it's on sale right now too. I might have to pick that up. I think it's $20 or something right now. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are gonna. I think another thing that kind of I don't think was mentioned too much here was that the new Assassin's Creed game is in an era where I think people are not burnt out on. So it's going to be very fresh to. It's going to be so fresh to play in that era and to learn about that history. And even in the brief demo, there was a lot of focus on learning a lot about the NPCs and stuff. And I know that's been a thing in past Assassin's Creed games, but I think I get the vibe that it's going to be more of a thing. You're going to be emotionally and like ethically, if that makes sense, connected to what's going on in the game. In the demo, you had to, save a younger priest from the older priest. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sam. I think that's what it kind of was.
That was part of the demo. Yes.
Yeah, and like you kind of like were faced with a little bit of an ethical challenge there, where I think. I think that character and that story development is very unique to that time period, and the way that it played out, I feel like people are going to be really connected to that era a lot more than maybe going through the same motions of the old Assassin's Creed, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's a great point. I mean, I certainly, for me, it's just I can't remember a time or a game that's specifically focused on ancient Egypt. And that to me is really, really appealing. Like, just, I remember just looking at the when they showed gameplay footage at E3, I was sold already. Just on just the game being in Egypt by itself. So, did you guys get a feel for like somebody asked in the live chat, like, does the Eagle ever get like seem like OP or overused in the game? Like, did you guys get a good feel for that?
So I'll say it didn't, and then you can go after me, dude. It didn't seem like that way, but you got to keep in mind this wasn't a very lengthy demo either.
Mm-hmm.
So that, take that with a grain of salt, obviously.
Wow, I'm going to come at it from a totally different angle. I think it did seem like it was going to be used kind of not excessively, but extensively, maybe would be the better word, because I don't think you're going to have to rely on that, 100%. I think, things will be uncovered as you play through certain scenarios. You're not going to be using that Eagle to scout out exactly every single thing that you're going to have to grab along the way, I don't think. But keep in mind, the Eagle or the bird or whatever it is going to be the analog to the mini map. Like, there's no mini map. There's no, the objective markers are not, very, very obvious. It doesn't feel as fetch questy because of that. It feels like you actually have to do something to find where you're going, instead of just, I'll follow this line to this quest and do this thing, and then I'll follow this line to the next thing and to grab that and grab this treasure here and all that stuff. That's why I don't think it's excessive. I think it's extensive. I think using the drone is going to be rewarding more than it is a chore, if that makes sense.
So it won't be as bad as using like the Batmobile in Arkham Knight?
No, not that bad.
You mean World of Tanks Dark Knight Edition?
Yeah.
That's actually funny. That's true. That the car was overly used in that game, which is too much.
No, there was just too much Batman in my tank game.
Yes, exactly. So, Sam, what other games, man?
Okay, so I did not get to play this game. However, I got to talk to people who played this game and who saw some other extensive demos of it. Ashen. If Ashen is not on your radar, it needs to be on your radar. It is okay for anyone who doesn't know. Ashen was first revealed in 2014, I want to say, during like the indie reel of games at the Xbox conference, and then it sort of disappeared after that. It has reemerged. It has gotten a way bigger budget. The dev team is like, I think 2.5, 3 times the size now. Someone can correct me if that's a misquote. And as a result, the game is much larger in scope. It's a dark fantasy RPG, takes place in a world where there is no sunlight. The only light comes from fire and volcanoes that cover everything in ash, hence the name of the game. And it uses a spin-off mechanic, sort of like Dark Souls in terms of summoning people. However, the summoning is done automatically, and you can't attack each other. You have to cooperate with each other to solve some of these puzzles. And don't worry, I know some people are probably thinking, well, if you're single player, you're offline, then some NPCs will spawn instead, and you can work with them. And you can't voice chat, so you have to communicate through gestures and things like that to solve puzzles, beat bosses, defeat very difficult enemies. One of you might have to carry the torches to light up a pitch black cavern while the other has the weapon.
Nice.
So you're working together to guard each other. Very team oriented, built on trust and survival in a dark fantasy type world. It's a timed exclusive, I think, for Xbox and Windows 10, and then it's coming definitely to Steam after that. Other platforms haven't been announced. It looks good. It looks extremely good. I highly encourage anybody who, even remotely likes those types of games to keep an eye on it. They have something really good coming there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would tend to agree with everything that Sam just said. I mean, I think that, I just said I just got crucified essentially for saying I'm not a huge fan of Dark Souls. I am a huge fan of Ashen. I think there's a lot more. I think it focuses less on like the brutal difficulty and more on the cooperative gameplay, and I'm all for that. Now, when I did hear about what Sam just mentioned about, the co-op without voice chat, I instantly just thought, I'm going to be in party chat, because I couldn't even fathom a time where you cooperatively gamed without voice chat. Like, think of games like Overwatch, Battlefield and stuff. You have a squad going, you want to play the objective cooperatively. It's impossible nowadays, even with all the callouts that are built into Overwatch, all the various callouts that have been built into Battlefield for ages about calling for medic, support, ammo, stuff like that. That stuff's impossible nowadays without communicating. And I feel like that is when I heard that, I was taken aback. I was like, kind of like, you serious? No voice chat. But it does pose an extra challenge, and it makes the game a little more interesting than just a typical Dark Souls clone. I mean, the art style is extremely unique. The game runs at a rock solid frame rate. Graphics are very good, if a little simplistic, but very sharp. Now, I don't recall if that was running on Xbox One X or not. Sam, do you remember?
That one was actually.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry, I had to think about that for a moment. That one was, or at least it was running on a dev kit.
Right.
But it wasn't running on PC.
So that may have contributed to why it looks so good. But nonetheless, I mean, I think people are going to be drawn in on face value to the art style, and then once they learn about how it differentiates from typical games that have this play style with a cooperative gameplay and trading of roles and stuff like that, I think it's going to be a huge hit. I'm very, very interested in it.
Yeah, Sam, did you may have mentioned this earlier. What's the combat like? Is it more like range combat, melees? Is it a combination of the two?
Similar to Dark Souls, but again with more of an emphasis on having to work together.
Gotcha,
there might be bosses where the two players have to do something entirely different. Like I use the example of one of them has to carry a really big torch and is thus defenseless from the horrors that come crawling out, and so the other player has to defend them. Maybe one player will have to carry one type of weapon to damage the boss and open up a weakness, and then the other player will have to do something else, all sorts of things like that. And in a very obvious nod to Dark Souls that I'm okay with, there are campfires that are safe zones, and you can rest around and just sort of breathe and take a minute and stuff like that.
Well, that also, I mean, yeah, it's a good point. It's definitely a copy of Dark Souls, but in another way to look at it is that what you just said about how there's no light in the game other than like moonlight or torchlight or whatever, like that. The save zone is much more of a like I looked at that as like a source of light. You know what I mean? I looked at that as like a source of brightness instead of like a copy off of Dark Souls. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but I felt it was a lot more symbolic than it is.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And what about like upgrading your characters? I mean, do you have the ability to do that, like upgrade different stats and stuff? Or
yes, you can upgrade different stats. There's different. I believe they said it's usually done by equipment instead of skill points or attribute points. You find different things called talismans, and they are used to either give you a stat boost or a new ability or other weird perks and stuff like that.
Okay, interesting. Ooh. Yeah, I thought the game looked great. Sam, you may have just sold me on this game. I mean, I was definitely interested in it, but you may have just sold me on it.
Yeah.
The thing that's amazing about some of these indies, and especially some of the ones that have already had a little bit of fanfare, because like Sam said, this has been around for a few years at this point. The anticipation has been building for this game. But if you were into E3 and experiencing this stuff, like, I don't want to get back into analyzing conferences, but just for a brief second, I feel like it hasn't shown well to the common, viewer of E3 coverage as it did if you just get your hands on it. Similar with Crackdown. Like, I'm not saying Crackdown is going to be, a huge AAA, but I'm saying, these games just don't show as well unless you're there to watch somebody play it or there to play it. I feel bad in that respect
on that one, but I agree. I agree 100%. A lot of them, you really do just have to get that hands-on time, or at least, over the shoulder time, as the case may be.
Over the shoulder time.
And I think that's one of the ways that like they could really improve like the whole E3 experience is, a lot of those demos could just put them on the marketplace for like the weekend or wherever the case is, and let people who are at home, check those games out. I think that's one way to reach a further audience and one way to get more people excited about the game. Like, it's cool to see like amazing games up on the stage, but if you didn't travel, across the country to go to E3, it's like, yeah, I saw it, for the couple of minutes. I did some research. I know it's coming. But if you're able to get your hands on it and be able to talk to more people about it, that also helps spread the word about the game, and not just viewing it on a on the stage for a couple of minutes.
Right.
So.
I mean, especially if E3 is going to be open to the public without going down that rabbit trail, there's no reason not to have them on the marketplace.
I think that's a brilliant idea, B Money. And let me ask you something, guys. Like, for you guys who've been to E3, like, how much time do you guys get to play these games?
More than you'd think, to be honest. 15, sometimes 20 minutes, depending on the demo this year. I think the longest demo I've ever seen at E3 this year was Battlefront, right? Battlefront 2 was like a 40-minute demo.
Tied with Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves also had a 40-minute.
Oh, is that 40 as well? No, I didn't try that this year.
Those two were the highest.
That's why the lines are so long and it takes so long for you to get to mini games, is because a lot of demos are long, 10, 15 minutes. They have, most stations are only a couple people, per game or whatever. So sometimes you play 3 or 4 games a day, and that's really about it. So
yeah, I think that's a great idea, B. I mean, do it over the internet, and they could do it. I mean, online, do like a 10, 15-minute demo. I mean, I think that would be great. Great way to show the game, and like you said, Sam, I mean, get the game in the gamer's hands and let them experience, because, like you said, like what you guys have described, like I watching E3 would have never came away with that kind of impression. You just can't. So I think that's phenomenal. If anyone's listening, please do this.
And even and I know people are going to say, oh, well, that takes away the exclusivity of you getting into E3 and going to E3 and playing these games. But I mean, there's ways that it can be done. Maybe a shorter demo, maybe like a 1 playthrough per gamer tag demo. I mean, not like letting you abuse the fact that you can play it multiple times. Like at E3, you're not going to, for the most part, you're not going to play that demo for a 15-minute demo and then jump back in line, because then you're going to have to wait another couple hours. That would be an advantage of having it available at home, and be able to play it over and over and over again. And then at that point, I'm sorry, guys, Sam, what were you gonna say?
I just said there are things they could do. I was agreeing with you. That's all.
Oh yeah. No, at no point do I want to advocate giving people at home a greater advantage to E3, because as B Money would know, as Sam would know, like it's expensive to go. It's expensive to live that life for the week that you're there or what have you. But so I mean, it is a big time privilege to go. I'm not trying to say that I'm expecting to go every year. I'm definitely not. But if I could see where people would be upset to get the same demo at home and be able to play that multiple times. But I mean, there's ways it can be done. And I think it needs to be done. I mean, the way people are advertising games these days is totally changing. You can't just read up in Game Pro and be excited for a game anymore. You need to, these games are doing so many different things now. It's not just copy and paste, that you gotta really get into the hands of gamers.
And I think, like, with that, you probably have more people who would actually go out and purchase the game. I think, especially with like smaller games, like indie games, and even just lower budget, bigger games. A lot of people just gloss over them, or they pass them over. They wait for them to go on some sort of sale before they take a look at them. I think if you, just put something out there, even if it's just a 10 or 15-minute demo that you can only play once, you garner more interest. You know what I mean? And people are more willing to jump in when the game releases, instead of trying to wait it out.
That's a great point. Sam, what else, man? What other games kind of really grabbed your attention?
Oh, good Lord. Let's see here. Due to lines, I did not get a chance to play Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus, but something tells me that you have nothing to worry about, and that it's going to be incredibly, gruesomely awesome.
Oh, I can't wait.
Let's see. Yeah, that'll be good. I mean, it's killing Nazis with vaguely cyberpunk weaponry. It's like, come on,
right?
We're good. That's all there is to it, right? And then they actually deliver a compelling story on top of that. So it looks fantastic. Let's see here. Detroit. Okay, I wasn't actually going to talk about this one, but Chicken Spaghetti really wants to know about Detroit, so I'll talk about this one really quickly. I'm going to be honest. I'm a lot more negative on Detroit now, and I didn't want to be. But they didn't really have a good booth showing there. There was only like a total of 3 tucked away in a corner. It wasn't shown well, wasn't presented well. B, on top of that, the playable section they had was only a few minutes long, but it was just the E3 2016 demo that they showed last year. Except it obviously allowed you to take, slightly different decisions or things like that and investigate the crime scene differently. But on top of that, they did have some other stuff that, available information on the game. And I don't know, I was hoping for something a lot more unique than what is being shown at this point. I thought it was going to be an interesting, complicated sort of idea of how do these androids fit into human society, investigating different crimes and emphasis on replayability. What I saw there was more of a, all right, rise up, destroy the humans, android revolution type stuff. And that's not really what I wanted to see at all. So I don't know. It could still surprise me. I still want it to be something really good, but it didn't demo well there at all.
Wow. I feel like with Quantic Dream games, like people either love them or hate them.
I wanted to love it. I thought it was a fantastic idea. I loved what I saw last year, but it's just what I saw this year did not instill confidence. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe it just didn't have a good showing this year. That is entirely possible. I still would like to give it a chance, but since Chicken Spaghetti asked, I had to throw that out there.
Yeah. Mike, did you get a chance to play it at E3?
I had a chance to play it, but I did not after seeing what I saw. I can't really, add too many more negatives on top of what Sam said, because I think Sam summed it up pretty well. I think, I think the gameplay has, some very interesting quirks in it. I almost feel like it's a lot like a Telltale game, honestly, with the decisions you have to make and it turning out to, do very different things. I like that aspect of seeing like the different routes that you can take and like having the, not like ghosts, but I don't know how they describe it, Sam, because I didn't play it or I didn't stand in long enough.
Basically, it's linked to the neural network of the androids, because all three characters that you play as, there's 2 guys and 1 girl, they're all androids. A major feature they're selling on the game, one that I'm still excited for, is that you can replay from any point. You can literally scroll back through your timeline and replay the game from any minor decision at all. And just go back there. And so it's like, okay, that is kind of cool. Just rebooting a decision, because many games force you to live with the consequences. This one allows you to think, well, maybe if I just scroll back 20 minutes here, I'll just do this and then everything will turn out well. Well, maybe it will, maybe it won't. Sort of kind of like Life is Strange, sort of not. So it's like, okay, that is pretty cool, allowing you to do that from any point in the game to any point. But
yeah, I think that showed decently well. I just don't think people understood how much power that could have while playing the demo. I think when people are playing some of these demos at E3, I don't think they're looking, as deep as they may have to in some of these games and on the gameplay mechanics. Like I feel like a lot of people just went up to Detroit and saw that it was a flashy booth and wanted to check it out, or they had a demo behind closed doors as well. And I think people don't. I don't think that game shows well because it requires you to like know the complicated mechanics that make that game what it really is going to be.
And on top of that, you're not invested in any of the characters. You don't have any of the background information for the crime scenes. And most importantly of all, it doesn't demo well because you don't get to see the impact of your decisions. Not really. You're only seeing the absolute immediate of that one particular hostage situation. That's not a good showing for a decision-based game.
Right. So there's no reason to, exactly. So there's no reason to actually explore the true mechanics of the game in that demo because you're not attached. There's no reason to try out everything that you could possibly try out because you're not invested whatsoever. There's nothing catching you enough to try those out.
It's a great point. I was about to actually say the same thing. I think that's probably one of those games that just, like you guys said, just doesn't demo well because there's no attachment to any of the characters. You can't see any of the choices that you made kind of really pan out in like a 15-minute demo. So
it wasn't even that. It was like 7 minutes.
Yeah, I was just gonna say close to the time. Yeah.
Yeah, 7 minutes. So that's interesting though. It's it's one of the games I was looking forward to. I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm dead on the game, but I keep my eye out and wait for more information. So, Sam, was there anything else that kind of took you by surprise?
Took me by surprise. Let's see here. I can't say Shadow of War. That didn't take me by surprise at all because that looks absolutely fantastic. And it's going to be absolutely huge. Let's see here. Super Lucky's Tale. I did not, unfortunately, get a chance to personally play it. I tried like 5 different times. It was absolutely ridiculous. But I did get to see a lot of over-the-shoulder gameplay. It actually looks really good. If you are into platforming, sort of early Rare nostalgia type stuff, it definitely was hitting those buttons, especially because Yooka-Laylee sort of disappointed, didn't exactly deliver what a lot of people were expecting. I think this could sort of fill that gap. And it's only $30. So there's also a very compelling point to be made there if you're interested in these types of games. So yeah, Super Lucky's Tale looks really good. Looks like a lot of, good family fun. That sort of thing. Oh, let's see here. What else? Okay, so it wasn't a surprise, really, but I still think the importance needs to be noted. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. That was, in my opinion, Mike and I sort of talked about this, the get of the year. That was huge. The fact that is coming to Xbox, that's going to be fantastic. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to do very well in the preview program, I think.
Mike, I believe you said it was the biggest third-party get in the history of E3, or
I would put it right after some reconsideration with some of my TXR castmates and Four Guys people. I may have been a little bullish on that, but I would still put it in the top 3. I think it's one of the top 3.
That was really bullish. I think it's going to do well on the preview program. I think this is going to be something that I think it's perfect for the Xbox platform. I think a lot of people are going to run with it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to get into the whole crossplay thing, but they're considering crossplay and they're considering, extensively testing out ways to make it more fair, keyboard and mouse versus controller. And I think, if they can get that on a fairly level playing field, I think that that's just going to explode. I think that has the potential to be one of the most popular crossplay games, other than, Rocket League and Minecraft, seriously right after those two, if not ahead of one of those two.
Oh, yeah, so absolutely.
Yeah.
Because this is important to keep in mind. That game is still technically in alpha on Steam.
It is.
You got to keep that in mind. All this crazy stuff, it's still technically in alpha. And it's going to be moving into beta later this year. It'll come into alpha on Xbox. So that game's potential is massive.
Yeah. B, what are your thoughts on PUBG, man?
I'm ready to play it, man. You know what I mean? Like, I see all my PC guys that run around talking about how great it is. I watch, some people stream it on Mixer and stuff like that. Like, I'm just ready to play it. As soon as it hits the market, it's I'm downloading it. So I'm ready to get going. Any shooter, like that takes a little bit of tactics. You can have some fun with.
Oh yeah,
I'm always there for that.
Yeah,
climb into a car with all our friends and go strolling down the highway, get blown up in one go.
Oh,
good fun. Try again.
B-Money and I have done that in GTA 5 already.
Well, it's nice to on PUBG. It's nice that game just enables you to get in and out of matches so quickly. PUBG, one match you'll play and you'll finish top 10. The next you may finish like in the 50s or so. But nonetheless, once you're out, the simplicity of getting back into a match is just brilliant. I don't know if maybe that is dependent on the strength of your PC, but for me personally, my experience on PC with it has just been, you die, you come out of the match and you just hit play game again. And because of just the sheer amount of people playing it already at this point in its launch cycle, you're just able to jump right back into a group of 100 and get right back to it. I mean, I can't even think of another multiplayer game that allows you to do something like that. It's just, it is really, really quick how fast you matchmake. And I think if they can bring that to console as well, I think that would be a huge strength, because I know a lot of people bitching and moaning about loading times these days on quote unquote next gen consoles. And, one of the selling points of the Xbox One X is going to be its load time improvements with, not only RAM, but also faster hard drive speeds. And so if we're looking at that combined with the fact that PUBG already match makes really quickly, I think a lot of people are going to be attracted to the fact that you can, play this in 3 hours and not only get into a couple of matches like you can with Battlefield 1, you get into, easily like 10, 15 matches in that amount of time, depending on how well you do. So,
yeah. I think my only concern is crossplay with PC, like you guys just mentioned, mouse, keyboard, mouse, but also like cheating. Like they just banned, I forget how many people they just banned. They banned people from using aimbots and stuff like that. That's always a concern of mine when you're playing against PC.
True. That is true, but keep in mind, worst case scenario, if they can't control it, or more likely you just don't want to do it, all crossplay games have an option that you can just disable it.
That's true.
You can disable it in Rocket League. You can disable it in Gears of War 4. Yeah, and you can just disable it. It won't be a problem.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What were you going to say, man?
I was going to say it's going to be the biggest thing on Mixer once it comes to Xbox.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Oh,
everybody's going to be on Mixer with that game. So
I think that game and Destiny 2 are going to be the big ones for Mixer.
And the craziest thing about Mixer is once you set up that co-stream and everybody can watch, up to 4 people playing it, it's going to be insane, man. You get in a party with your boys, everybody.
Oh yeah, it's perfect for that type of game.
You know what I mean? It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam, so what about disappointments, man?
Disappointments. So I kind of mentioned Detroit already. I had some good experience in terms of most of the games I saw were not disappointments.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Okay, so there's disappointment even then. It's kind of not. So I'll go over this one really quick. Wrote about a game that I got to see behind closed doors called Hunt Showdown. It's being developed by one of Crytek's main studios. And in the process of their restructuring, this is one of the big titles they're building around. So it takes place in sort of an alternate history. Kind of alternate history, kind of not late 18th century. You play as Victorian era hunters going out into the dark wilds of the British Empire. Not even bolt action weapons, but like revolvers and powder rifles and stuff like that, Molotov cocktails, and you hunt monsters, different eldritch things that sort of exist beyond civilization. It's like, okay, you know what? I can get down with that. That's a pretty cool concept. It looks really good. Obviously, there's some performance improvements that need to be made. It looks like a fun time. The problem is it's multiplayer only. And that was instantly a giant red flag for me because asymmetrical multiplayer only games just haven't done that well this gen.
Right.
They just haven't. And then, again, not that free-to-play is a bad thing, but you tack on the fact that this is a free-to-play AAA game on top of that, it's just setting off a couple of alarm bells for me. It still looks like a fantastic setting. It looks scary. It looks tense. It looks good. It's just, I'm kind of concerned how the multiplayer is going to be handled. So I'm not sure if you would really classify that as a disappointment, but I'm going to put it out there because it's probably the closest thing.
It's more of a concern then.
Yeah, more of a, I really like what you've got here, but I'm really concerned about it as well.
Interesting.
I got to ask you guys this since you were there on the show floor. Was that game Shift anywhere to be found on the show floor?
Shift could not find it.
No,
I did not see hide nor hair.
Oh my goodness, man! Just a little clip, like I got super hyped, and I've been hard pressed to find more information on it, and I was hoping that maybe you guys got your hands on it. So,
not me. Nope, I didn't see it at all. I was there all 3 days as well, so I didn't get to see that one.
Yeah, so I will say it's cool that you and Sam got the opportunity to meet. I saw that on Twitter, so that's awesome. You guys finally got a chance to meet face to face.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
He came and met me at the Ubisoft booth while I was waiting in line for one of my disappointments of E3, which was the Mario and Rabbids game. What's the name of that one? I can't even remember the name of it now. So Kingdom Battle. Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. That's
really.
That's kind of on my disappointment list. I'm not a huge fan of how repetitive it felt. Granted, it could have been the short demo that they had. I want to see how fleshed out a lot of the mechanics and a lot of the power-ups and stuff like that are. The level design, I thought the level design was kind of stale on it in terms of differentiating the different areas that you play through in the demo. I thought it was I thought I was going to be expecting like Super Mario RPG style depth. And I feel like just from what I played, I would be expecting playing a lot of the same over and over again. I don't like that feeling, but I mean, the mechanics, it didn't play like it was in early development. It played really strong. There weren't a lot of bugs or anything like that. It's just that it just felt extremely repetitive. But yeah, that's where Sam met me while I was waiting in line for that for like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it was pretty funny because like he mentioned he was in line for 2.5 hours. So we talked for like 25, 30 minutes. And I think I had to take 3 steps.
Legit. No, it's true.
That line was tough.
I'm sorry. We got to take, I think, just a minute to rant. The lines were ridiculous, and there were way too many people there.
Oh, yeah, sorry. That's what I wanted to ask you guys. Like, this is the first year they opened up to the public. Like, was it too much? Do you feel like it kind of ruined the experience there?
On Tuesday, yeah. The first day of it was brutal. I mean, brutal. If you look back on, or if you were following Twitter extensively on that day and you were following some industry people that were there that, have been there for years, not just new industry people and not just people like us that, are half fans, half industry, if you will. Real industry people were tweeting out, yeah, this is ridiculous. This is the craziest E3. It smells. It smells. Yeah, I mean, the smells were real. There were some people who, bad hygiene,
bad hygiene. Holy shit.
Bad hygiene. It was extremely crowded. Oh, I'll tell you, I was, for the first day, I was probably in the first, couple hundred people in line. When I met up with some of my buddies and kind of line cut, I'm not gonna lie, but first couple hundred people in line at E3, and then they opened the doors and we went in, and I got in, and they were like Destiny's cap for the day.
What?
Yeah, I mean, that's how ridiculous the lines were. Yeah, that's how ridiculous the lines were. Yeah, so I mean, that was the first day. Of course, it got especially by Thursday, it was way better, but Tuesday was brutal. And I'm on record. I said that I didn't think 15,000 people was going to be that big of a deal. It's a big deal.
Wow. It's sort of like, oh, this won't be a problem 4 hours later. So how'd that go?
That sucks, man.
Maybe I just didn't expect as many people to be, I don't want to say knowledgeable, but like to plan their time properly. I felt like out of those 15,000 people, you get like 5,000 people didn't know what they were getting into. So that eliminates a third of them. And then maybe one half will be in West Hall, one in South. So, 5,000 people in the area that you're at is not going to be that big of a deal, that kind of thing. But no, I mean, the crowd was real this year. Very real. Yeah.
I wonder if they do this again next year, based on how it went. I mean, I'd be interested to see if that happens.
Yeah. I would expect an announcement on that. Sooner than the tickets went up this year. I would expect, if they're going to do this, I expect them to be transparent about their plans, because I know a lot of industry people were extremely upset. So I know a lot of those people are probably clamoring for maybe separate industry days versus days that public are allowed as well. So I expect plans on that sooner rather than later, to be honest. But yeah, if I'm guessing right now, Enrique, I'm saying no, that it's not the same as this past year.
Yeah, especially with the hygiene issue. That's terrible. I'm sorry. That's terrible. Sam, any other things related to your E3 experience, man, that you want to share with us before we move to the next topic?
Got to try PSVR for the first time with a game called Moss.
Oh, I've heard good things about that.
I will not take up too much time. Suffice to say, Moss is the most compelling reason I've seen to own the PSVR. I'm not saying that one game alone is worth the headset, because that is still an incredible investment to make for a peripheral, but Moss was good. Moss is built from the ground up to take advantage of PSVR, to downplay the weaknesses, to make you feel comfortable, to make everything feel natural. It really knows what it's doing. The developers know what they're doing. Polyarc Studio, they're ex-Bungie employees. And Danny Beulah, who is one of the co-founders, he guided me through the demo. I wrote up a piece about it. Moss is pretty good.
That's, you know what, Sam, that's so good to hear. Well, that was one of the VR games a lot of people were talking about. A lot of the journalists were talking about at E3. I think someone somebody even said that it was like living inside a storybook.
Yes, absolutely. Very Redwall themed. If you're familiar with the anthropomorphic animals from Brian Jacques.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Anything else before we transition over to our next topic?
I mean, I could talk forever, so those are the highlights. Is how I'm going to leave it.
All right, man. Well, awesome, man. Well, Sam, it's we're happy that we got you back on the show, man. I know you've been busy, and I've been dying to hear your thoughts on E3, man. So definitely look forward to some of these games that you talked about. So thank you again, man.
Absolutely.
Super Mario Odyssey. Did anybody? Well, speaking of E3, that's actually our next topic. Did you guys get to play that?
I did not.
Yep, neither did I. I was not going to waste my time on that line. That line, Nintendo lines. Can you tell I'm a little butthurt? Nintendo lines, just absurd.
Mike, you sound very salty, man. You're like, nope.
There's a lot of salt in this butt. I'm very butthurt. Yeah, dude. I went all 3 days. I went over there, and the line was just ridiculous. I could not justify standing in line for 4+ hours to play one game when Nintendo's booth was set up in such a way that you could literally stand right next to the person. The blockades to block people into where the gaming booths were like 3 feet high. They weren't blocking anyone out. You could easily just like lean over and look. Hell, you could have probably just vaulted one and gotten in line. Like it was very open the way that you could watch that game. So I said, I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to stand there. And I stood there and watched Odyssey for like a total of like an hour and 45 minutes. Whenever I was just bored and waiting for something else to happen, I was over in that booth watching Odyssey.
So what did you think of the demo? So the reason why we brought this up as a topic today, and John was supposed to be here tonight, but John tweeted out earlier that he thinks it's going to get 99 meta. I think that's pretty bullish. I could see it doing 90s. I don't know about 99. I think it's kind of aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
But I heard the game really kind of follows up in the open world formula that they established with Super Mario 64, which, I mean, was what a wow. I think Mario 64 might have been my first like game that I played, and this is actually during the transition from 2D to 3D. I don't know if you guys remember this, but Mario 64 was a great game. I mean, it was the first Mario 3D game, and I remember playing it. And I forget how old I was, maybe 18 or 19 at the time. But I remember just being wowed by it. And so when John said this, I'm like, yeah, 99 seems high. I could see like low 90s, but apparently this game is not easy. Apparently it's hard. And this is coming from people who've actually played this played the demo at E3. Did you see anybody like rage quitting or getting like upset or anything like that at this game when you were watching them play the demo, Mike?
More than one, significantly more than one. I would say I can remember vividly probably like 4 or 5 experiences where people just quit on it. And I'm not sure if that was completely related to the game, to be quite honest with you, because I know they were pushing on, I think some of the booths they were pushing the motion controls and some of them they weren't. I don't know. I saw some people not really using the motion controls, and I saw people going full out with the motion controls, the flick of the wrist to throw the hat, that kind of thing. So I'm not sure if it was related to that, because I know that I saw one older guy, probably, easily in his 60s, white hair, older looking guy, was using the motion controls, and he was trying to throw the hat at a very specific thing. I think, I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was trying to throw the hat to take control like you do in that game. And he kept missing, and he literally just took the Joy-Cons, put them down on the table, flattened the table, and looked at the guy and was like, "Where's my pin? I'm out of here." And I'm just like, "Shit, can I have the rest of your demo, bro?" Like, I literally the guy running the demo, I was like, "Can I just hop in and take the rest of his time?" And they're like, "No, we're gonna reset it." I'm like, "Oh man." But yeah, other times little kids getting really frustrated with it. So yeah, I think it's like you said, Enrique. I think back to the open world thing that was a huge success with the revolutionary release of Super Mario 64, and I think as much as games like Galaxy, as much as games like Sunshine, as much as games like Super Mario 3D World were great games. Or New Super Mario Brothers, those all had linear aspects to it that they weren't quite open world, and I think that getting back to that play style was really nostalgic for a lot of people. I heard a lot of people likening it to Super Mario 64 very specifically, and I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, I've heard 64 and Mario Sunshine is the other one too.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm really I'm looking forward to it. I am a little concerned with what you said about the use of the Joy-Cons to like simulate like tossing Mario's hat. Like I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know if that's required. A lot of people that I saw doing it they were actually playing like that, but I feel like I saw a few people that weren't doing it like that. So I kind of, because if you think about it, you're on a train or something, you're not going to play that and use the motion control. Same thing with ARMS. Like ARMS has,
you might.
Can you imagine?
You're right.
But even ARMS, a game that's very heavily advertised as a boxing game with the Joy-Cons in each hand, even that has a mode where you can play not with the motion controls. So I would assume that there isn't a requirement for that, but I saw a lot of people playing like that. Yeah, I don't know. Sam, what did you think of it, bud?
Didn't get to play it, so
you didn't even watch it.
I'm not really good. I mean, I watched it. Yeah, it looks good, but I can't really add anything on top of what you said. It looks really good. It looks fantastic. I think it's a what's the word? Not a callback, but it's a refreshing take, and I'm perfectly down with that.
Well, another thing that kind of makes it difficult, even though it's much like Super Mario 64, and Super Mario 64, I mean, there was the jumping, there was grabbing, there was diving. You use essentially the same mechanics throughout the entire game. The environments just changed quite a bit. There was the the hat that let you fly or whatever. This game, I feel like the impression I got from the demo is that a lot of the mechanics are going to change up on you, from level to level to level. There's that ability to go like flat into the wall. There's the ability to take over, essentially anything you could see.
A dinosaur.
That's animate. Yeah, exactly. Right. So anything that's animate, essentially, you can see, you can take over. So I think that complexity alone is going to make it a little more difficult for gamers. And I think that's going to lead to why it's not going to get a 99.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, because the Mario titles have been pretty much Mario's kind of been one of those titles where it's been, I guess historically speaking, easy kind of pick up and play. I mean, that's how I've always remembered Mario games. So I just hope it's not like too hard, because I don't want to be rage quitting, especially in front of the kids.
Right?
B, what are your thoughts, man?
I mean, I hope it's a little bit difficult. You know what I mean? I appreciate the pick up and play like Mario games and stuff like that, but I feel like Nintendo games have always been kind of easy. You know what I mean? I feel like Breath of the Wild was a step in a different direction. The game, wasn't super hard or anything like that, but it definitely added a different challenge to what older Zelda games were. So I think they are taking a step in the right direction if this game is a little harder. So I think they still have mascots like Kirby and Yoshi where they can, kind of play it safe and make those games pick up and play for a different audience. But I think a historic character like Mario, he can be a little harder to play, a little harder to get into. I mean, it's an open world game. It might not appeal to everyone, but I think the people who are hardcore into that type of game, they're going to enjoy the game being a little bit more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I predict the game will sell gangbusters.
Yes, it definitely.
I mean, this game is going to be. It's going to be insane. It's going to be insane.
Well, it's going to be the first marquee AAA that's exclusive only to Switch. I mean, Breath of the Wild, great game,
that's true.
Exclusive, but I mean, not exclusive rather. I mean, it's on the Wii U, so and
good point.
And you can't sneeze at the Wii U version. The Wii U version had a heavy attach rate. So yeah, this I think this has the potential to take over that throne from Breath of the Wild, even though the Breath of the Wild will have like an 8-month lead on it in sales. But who doesn't want to buy a Mario game for a Nintendo system? Like Zelda, yeah, Zelda's iconic, had over 100% attach rate on the early going for the Switch. But by the time that Mario comes out, I think Mario will be the game that people consider as the 100% attach rate. It always is, because not only because he is the mascot of Nintendo that everyone knows and loves, but also because of how it's traditionally been pick up and play. And I think you know, if parents are buying this, kids are buying this, what have you, they're not going to know different than the old Marios. You know, they're not going to think of this as a more complex game that is not for their kid. They're going to just pick it up because it's Mario.
That's a great point. That's a great point. And this thing's going to help move Switches like hotcakes. It's so long as Nintendo can keep the Switches in stock. But by the way, Mario actually dominated Game Critics Awards for E3 this year. So there you go.
Not surprised. Yeah. Not surprised at all. Because, you know, not to say that game critics are swayed by how people line up and you know, anticipate things. But, I mean, I feel like there were other games that were heavily anticipated that people lined up for hours for at E3 that people left a sour taste in their mouths and walked away very disappointed. Like Far Cry, for instance, I think had that effect on people. But, you know, save for the few people who just rage quit because of the controls or what have you, I feel like a lot of people left that being like, that is the experience that I came here for. So,
all right. All right. Last topic of the evening. So, as many of you all know, GameStop was running a promotion. Actually, they're still running the promotion. It goes through July 9th, which I think is this Sunday, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I was one of those individuals that wasn't going to pick up an Xbox One X. I just didn't feel like I needed one. And here comes this GameStop promotion where when you trade in 6 games or a combination of 6 games or specific games, actually, like Amazing Spider-Man, you pick those up on the cheap, you flip them to GameStop for a little bit of a profit. A lot of people got credit doing that. I'm one of them. I actually got like $478 in GameStop credit, which I'm using towards an Xbox One X. So I kind of wanted to talk about this because I've seen some interesting comments on Twitter about this. Like I've actually seen some people tweet out that they kind of felt like this was maybe a little bit, maybe there was they didn't feel right doing it, you know. I'm not one of them because obviously I did it. But I actually thought this was actually really, I think this is brilliant by GameStop, by the way, because I think it one thing that it definitely does is it kind of gets you in their ecosystem. You're going to come back and you're going to spend money there. And I think this might even potentially benefit pre-orders of the Xbox One X, which actually I just heard will be pre-ordered ready on August 1st. I don't know if that hasn't been confirmed. That's what I just heard. But what do you guys think? I mean, do you guys think this was a great deal and that you know gamers capitalizing on this makes sense and that it could potentially even maybe like me, like I was a guy who I wasn't going to pick up an Xbox One X now. I wasn't going to initially. Now I am because I have this credit. Do you guys think that it's going to help maybe even push pre-orders for this console?
I think so. Absolutely. I mean, I was already going to get one, but heck yeah, I flipped. I took advantage of it, and I know you did, B.
Yeah, you know I did. You did right.
So B, I mean, and so let me just explain the flip thing real quick because there were a couple games, and I heard people question or bring up morality into this, and here's the thing, like. There was like 4 games that you could buy, like on the cheap at Best Buy or Walmart. It was Amazing Spider-Man, Shadow of Mordor Game of the Year Edition, one of the Need for Speeds, and Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2. And you pick them up for $20 new, and you take them to GameStop, and you could flip them. And I think they were getting some were getting like $32 to $48 trading values or something, right?
Yeah.
But where you really kind of made extra money is when you brought in like 6, 12 games, 24 games. They would give you an extra 60%. But if you were a Power Rewards member, you get an extra 10% on top of that. So you were getting like 70% trade-ins. Like I think the first day I went, I got like $264 in trade-ins. The guy told me, he goes, normally you would have gotten $100. And I was like, what? And like as I'm watching the screen, it was like playing the slot machines. You could just see it, you could see the total come up. And the guy was like, even the manager's like, man, I gotta check my promotion. He goes, this doesn't seem right. so B Money, I'm sorry, man, I interrupted, but you you actually did pretty well with the flip, man. How did you make out?
I think I made out like one of the best fat bastards. You know what I mean? It was like a buffet, and they said it was free that day. So I pulled up and got my share, man. But like, you know, I saw the information floating around online. You know, I was checking it out on Reddit and stuff like that. Cheap Ass Gamer had like a super big forum. I usually go there like every day just to see what's going on. And I saw what was going on, so I was like, "Yo, I gotta capitalize on this." So I went to Walmart first just to see what was there because people are saying like Walmart had some decent deals, and I actually stumbled upon NBA Live 16, which was one of the games. It was super crazy to me because I mean the game came out in 2015. I picked it up for $9, flipped it for $34. So like I was like, that's a no-brainer. Picked that up. And then I headed over to Best Buy because I had the Gamers Club unlocked. Got the 20% off, so I picked up a couple of copies of Plants vs. Zombies 2 and then Amazing Spider-Man. Went over to GameStop, flipped all of that, and I got a total with a couple other games that I had, like some old PS3 games and some 360 games that I'm never going to go back to. I ended up getting $687 back after that flip. So, you know, it was a no-brainer, you know what I mean, for me to go ahead and just hop on that. I mean, it paid for my X, which, you know, I was potentially going to get anyway, and I'll grab a couple games with it. So
that's
for all the years that GameStop took advantage of me, I got them right back. So felt pretty good.
Oh my goodness. You know what, Mike, so Clowns and I were like DMing this whole weekend about like the deals and like what we should flip. And I think Clowns actually did pretty well too.
Interesting. Because of July 4th, I was just so busy. I was not even on Twitter. And so him and I haven't even talked about this. This is definitely on the schedule for tomorrow's podcast. But yeah, I've heard of people making like in the thousands of dollars. Like somebody I saw online had made like $1,300, almost $1,300.
Yeah.
In net profit, and I was just like, "This is a little ridiculous." I had to look into this a little more.
I mean, I think Rand made a video on this.
Yeah,
and people like I saw people say, you know what, I took Rand's advice and invested 150 and ended up flipping like 1,000.
Yeah.
Al the drunk cat, he used to be a co-host on Brap. He's the one that told me about it, and he made over $1,000. He actually can't trade any more games in. He's been blacklisted. He can't trade any more games into the end of the year, after the end of the year.
And you know what? You know, people will argue the ethics of this, and I think that is a valid angle. But you know what? You have the promotion. If you're not restricting it properly, you know, why is it on gamers to, restrict themselves of such an incredible deal? Now, I've seen people argue, okay, is it ethical to go to GameStop, buy a game off the shelf, and then just trade it in for a profit? I will agree with that. I think that's a little unethical, honestly. If you buy from a different store and bring it in, whatever, it's fair game. I don't think that's unethical at all. I think that's perfectly fine. That's what the promotion is. If it's available to you, I don't see why you can't take advantage of that. You know, people have different morality standards and make up these, you know, ethical standards that should be followed in some situations. And you know what, honestly, in this case, it's an interesting point that you brought up, Enrique, about getting people into GameStop's ecosystem. I had not thought of that. But at the same time, like, shame on them. Shame on them for having such a trade-in deal that could be exploited like this and not catching that and then letting people just continue to do it for seemingly like a week. I think this promotion started like mid-June.
Yeah.
And they let people do it for like a week or two before catching on. And I think they've lowered some of the value. So honestly, it's their own fault. Like, people want to complain about the ethics of it. It's their own fault.
But yeah, I don't even think it's unethical, like, to take advantage of the 2-for-1, right? Like, you pay to have that deal. That's not for everyone. Like, you have to be a Powers Reward member to buy the to get the buy 2 used, get 1 free.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I can't even tell you how many times I've bought games used games at GameStop and then ended up trading them back in anyway.
Mm-hmm.
No,
if you, I don't want to. I'm sorry, I don't want to be, misquoted on this. I think if you go to a GameStop and buy them and then go to a different GameStop and trade them in, that's just strategy, baby. That's just strategy. I think if you go to the same GameStop and do it and just like get out of line and get back in line, there's a little bit of a problem.
I wouldn't have gone to the same GameStop, but going to a different GameStop, you bought the games.
Right.
They're your
exactly.
That's right. You own them now.
Your own rules. And here's the thing, guys. It's not like they haven't done far worse to us for the past 10 years.
What, Sam? Sam, that's a great point because B-Money, you and I've talked about this. How many times you go to GameStop and you get the last copy of a new game, and what do? They open up the case behind the register, and they give you the disc that's been opened, right? And they charge you full price. Now, if you try to take a game that is wrapped, they won't take it. They won't take it.
It's got to be open.
It's got to be open. But so to them, they're saying, a used game. They constitute a used game as one that's ready. The wrap's off and it's been open. But yet they'll have like the last copy of a new game, and they'll charge you full retail price and claim that as a new game because it's the last copy. It's a display copy. I think it's crazy.
Yep, it is. It's absolutely nuts. And you know what? They needed, as much as people have been talking about GameStop. Since when have people been talking about GameStop? You know what I mean? Like that was cool like 10 years ago. People don't talk about GameStop anymore. People do Games Club Unlocked. People do Amazon Prime, and people do digital sales. Like no one talks about GameStop having any sort of deal. Now they finally have like the miracle of deals to possibly get enough money to pre-order an Xbox One X. And now everyone's talking about them. So not only is it getting them into your ecosystem financially, monetarily, Enrique, it's also getting them into your ecosystem, mind share wise. Now you're actually thinking, okay, GameStop may have another deal like this. Maybe I should start checking out GameStop stuff more often than I would have. And maybe, like you just said, B-Money, you check out, Cheap Ass Gamer, you check out Reddit. That's how you found out about this. It's not like you were perusing your local GameStop or like checking out their weekly ads. So now somebody like you or you may actually go and check out some GameStop stuff now. So, there is a side angle to this. People saying, oh, they're losing money on this. How can you like willingly let them lose money on this and steal? I'm like, how are you stealing? I mean, this is
go back there anyway.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Sam said, you buy the game, you own it at that point.
That's right.
You can go back and turn it. I had this conversation with Mike from NLG, and love Mike, great guy, but I wholeheartedly disagree with him on this. He was saying that basically they're losing money. I'm like, Mike, they're not losing money. They're not losing money because they're going to take those games that I sold back to them. They're going to sell them at a profit, right? Because they'll give you like some trading value of like $13. They'll put it back on the shelf and charge somebody like $19, right? Yep. And then now I have stored credit. But I also saw people, I should mention this. I did see people trading a bunch of games and buy new content. So they're making money in that regard too. Mm-hmm. And then when a lot of us, and I also think this was kind of like I think people are talking about this more because there was a lot of people doing this and then saying, hey, you know what? Now I'm going to take this credit. I'm going to buy an Xbox One X, as opposed to, because think about that. I mean, $500 console, and people are like, oh my God, I got all this credit now. I'm going to buy a console. I bet you if there was no console release this year, we probably wouldn't have heard a lot of people talking about this, right. And how many people would have gone out and done it. But look, for me, the motivation was I'm going to trade in and I'm going to use this. I'm going to invest $90 and get $478 because that's going to help me get an Xbox One X. And I think a lot of people did that. Or had that mindset. So
and not only just the One X, but also the Switch. The
PS4 Pro, whatever gaming device that they were interested in for this holiday season. Now they can get it.
And now you're grabbing them from GameStop. GameStop sales are up. You're invested in their ecosystem, like you guys said. Your mind is now swayed back to GameStop to possibly not only use this money that you've accrued, but also, look out for deals in the future. And yeah, are they losing money if you go into a store, buy it, get right back in line, trade it in, and get more money? In that very second, yeah, they're losing money. But they're going to resell it for more, and they're going to get you later on. So the goal is achieved. Like, this happens in business all the time. I work at a a small business, and I know that sometimes you got to lower the price to make the sale. Sometimes, we've seen this in the gaming industry too, like systems losing money, Microsoft, Sony losing money on system sales just to get you in their ecosystem, get you your mind share, and then they'll recoup it later. You're not stealing anything. You've bought it. It's yours.
Man, I agree, man. I agree. And Sam, your brother Micah said it right. We are above morality. We are gamers.
Oh, Lord.
Micah, I just want to say you're a wise man.
Lord.
Yeah, Eric, who couldn't be with us tonight, he made out well.
He did, man.
But he also made out. Yeah, but he also made out too by selling like old 360 titles too, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like one of the things I did was, once I saw what the deal was, like I just put up the GameStop app. I just checked values of like every game that I had. And like some of the old 360 titles, they had like a $20 value. And I was surprised. So I was like, oh, well, if I'm gonna get 70% back more, here you go. You can take it. And I'll just buy it when it's, on sale digitally again or whatever the case is. But, as long as it had a decent enough value, I traded it in.
And the other thing too, I mean, it's kind of GameStop's fault that they don't know that they're selling the same games. There's a lot of those titles that they're selling, like the Spider-Man title and Plants vs. Zombies 2. Plants vs. Zombies 2 is like, I think it's like $40 used.
Yeah.
Their competition selling it new at $20.
Yeah. They're selling Spider-Man for $35. I went in there because I was just, having to be looking around. I was like, wow, how can you still be selling this game for $35? But people go in there and buy it. You know what I mean? So, someone's in there buying it. Everybody doesn't shop at Best Buy or Walmart or everywhere else. So some people are dedicated GameStop shoppers. You know what I mean? And that's the only place where they go to buy games.
Not only that, people are racking up points too. I saw somebody say they got like 90,000 rewards points.
Yeah.
After the trade-ins. That's great.
But it's stealing, guys.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah, Mike, you got to talk to Clowns about it, man. It was Clowns was hooked, man. Clowns was like almost addicted. He was like, because he would DM me, he's like, man, I'm thinking about trading in some Switch games too.
But yeah, dude, this is the kind of stuff that gets Clowns out of bed in the morning. This is the kind of stuff that gets him out of bed in the morning. When there are no such deals to be found, not even close, he's thinking how to scheme and do stuff like this. So this kind of deal just made him salivate. And I saw some stuff on him on Twitter, him DMing saying, that he's going to do this and he's so excited about this deal or whatever, and then he was going to do it, but I didn't get the specifics on the games he was doing. I know he did a lot of Switch games though, because I know he was telling me like the Switch games were getting, like close to
$51.
They're getting like $50-something. Yeah.
$51 or $52.
And then he would sell his Switch games, and then he would buy them back used for the 2-for-1.
Yeah. See, if you want to have an ethical discussion, that can be had for a situation like that. Like, that's a little scummy, and you may look like a scumbag for doing that. But if you buy at a different GameStop, you go and flip it in another one. Like, sorry, you walked out of that store. Those are yours, pal. You paid US dollars. Clowns
was like going to the store and then like would walk out and then come back in 2 minutes later.
Probably. I wouldn't put it past him to just like stand at the door, like swing his bag of games out the door, and swing it back in, and save some steps. You know what I mean? You gotta conserve.
Just go to the back of the line.
Right, yeah, jump right back in the back. Or there is no line. Like he goes into a GameStop, then he knows it's not busy. He just buys it. He like checks his phone for a second. It's like, oh wait, I'm not done.
I've got these trade-ins.
And the fools at GameStop that are totally not trained on this thing, like actually check to see if the games are in the case that they just put in the case.
Oh my goodness. That is too funny. Big shout out to Clowns, by the way.
Oh man.
Yeah. Yep.
That's too funny. Al's actually on Twitter. I think you just saw this, Sam. Something about purchasing gift cards with credit.
Yeah, I didn't think you could do that.
I didn't think so either.
He's saying that he's saying something about Amazon Prime, and of course, hey, by the way, Mike, you know who chimed in? Clowns. He's like,
he knows all the deals, man. Knows all the backdoor stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I gotta hit him up, man.
Yeah.
His Walmart buying and exchanging and deal finding is on point, dude. If you need to know any deals or any prices at Walmart, that guy probably has them down to the penny.
Nice.
That
is too funny. Well, all I gotta say is GameStop, thank you for allowing me to get an Xbox One X, man. I appreciate it, GameStop. It's a big thank you. And
now, real quick before we get off this,
yeah,
just to prove a point to me, because I do want to talk about this tomorrow on our podcast, is now that this has happened, are you more likely to check out GameStop stuff than you were before, or is this deal it and you're gonna still ignore them and they're still gonna be the people who sell new games or use games as new?
I cashed in, I cashed out.
Really?
Doesn't make me any more likely to like them as a company.
No, that's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. I mean, I'm sure you still hate them, even though they just paid for your Xbox One X. I'm saying, is this going to put them back on your radar as a brick and mortar seller of games? Because
if they do more stuff like this that I can use, then yeah.
Okay, so you need to see more then.
Yeah, I agree with Sam. I mean, so they are in my mind now. I like B brought up the Gamers Club Unlocked from Best Buy, and to me that's like the best deal like that you can get. I mean, I have not paid full retail price for gaming forever, because with Gamers Club Unlocked you get 20% off, plus you earn $10 Best Buy cash you can use towards a new purchase. I mean, I was paying like $40 for new games. I think Persona 5 I paid $40 for, and I traded GameStop and got $58 back for it.
There you go.
Yeah, so but they're on my radar now. They haven't been on my radar forever. And I'm a Power Rewards member. I pay for that, but I don't go to GameStop because they just don't have good deals. But they're on my radar now. If they keep doing stuff like this, absolutely. Like B and I were talking about, now we got to replenish our our physical disc now, our copies of physical games. For future deals.
Hold off for the next deal.
Yeah,
that's like, just stack back up, hold off for the next deal, because something's gonna come. Anytime a new console releases, GameStop has some trade-in value boost or whatever. So they'll probably have something right before the X comes out, or right when the pre-order drops, or whatever the case is. Just stack up for the next deal. Just be ready and wait, man.
Yeah, that's why I think this move for them is brilliant, because like you said, like it gets that mind share back, where people are now going to keep an eye on what kind of deals they have. I mean, I would get emails from them all the time. I'm like, yeah, I'm not looking at it, whatever, and they probably
but now you see that email that may have that 70% deal in there that you need to jump on before they lower the values.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what I've learned is that I talked to somebody who used to be a manager at GameStop. He said what this will end up doing to them will actually the side effect to all this is that the trade-in values for a lot of these games, like we mentioned Spider-Man and Plants vs. Zombies 2, will drastically go down. Actually, that's already happened.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. That's
already happened. I talked to somebody today, and they're significantly down compared to what they were this past weekend.
And that's what Best Buy does too. Best Buy Gamers Club, well, I don't know if it's a Gamers Club exclusive, but actually, no, it definitely isn't. They sometimes have 50% extra trade-in credit and then 60% extra if you're a Gamers Club Unlocked. And that's on paper, a very similar deal, but, they drop the prices significantly. So, it only comes out a little bit more than it usually would. And GameStop just didn't do that fast enough. So they got punished. Too bad. So sad.
Too bad. So sad.
I actually have a great Best Buy story, because sometimes they actually have 100% trade-in value.
What? What? Whoa, what?
I've never seen that.
Yeah, sometimes they have 100% trade-in value.
Clowns just heard you DM me, by the way. I'm just kidding.
And they had it maybe 2 years ago or something like that. So like me and all my boys from work, I'm like, yo, Best Buy's got 100% trading value. So I just went up there with like a couple games. I think like Halo 4 was like one of them. Grand Theft Auto on the Xbox version, and just a couple other games. I traded in like 4 games, and I got back like $200 something.
Damn.
So, I traded in GTA. They gave me like $90 for it. Halo 4 was like something ridiculous, like $60 or $70.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? So I look out for those deals too. You just gotta kind of be aware, man.
That's crazy, man. It's crazy to get that much back for GTA 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So as long as you're aware, and like I said, I'm usually I check Cheap Ass Gamer like every morning. That's like usually the first thing I do when I pick up my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Check see what time it is. Go to Cheap Ass Gamer, see if there's some crazy ass deal out there to be had. And as long as there's something crazy, man, I'll go for it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Nice. All right, gentlemen. Well, that's it for topics tonight. Mike, thanks for coming by again, man. It's always a pleasure to have you on, man. Always appreciate it.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for inviting me on. Sorry, I came in a little later than anticipated, but I wasn't exactly at my computer when I started listening, so I do appreciate being able to chill with you guys for essentially the whole show. But anytime you guys feel like having me on, just hit me up. If it works, I'm here.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And as always, man, please plug Four Guys Recorders.
Tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We'll be discussing a few of these same topics. We'll be talking about, obviously this ethics of the Anthem situation and of this GameStop thing. But we'll also be talking about, Crash Bandicoot doing so extremely well right out of the gate for a remade game that apparently no one wants to play, right, Sony?
Right.
And we'll do that tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m.
Rumor is Jack and Dexter's next.
Good. It should be. I'm sure it'll sell like hotcakes.
Yeah. Well.
How big was the fanfare for Anthem at E3? Were people like going insane
through the roof?
Yeah. I think amongst
to be one of the games of the show.
Oh yeah.
Everyone like just very quickly, I'll say this: a lot of people in line even beforehand were talking about Anthem and like. This is kind of ridiculous. Why is Microsoft doing this marketing deal? You can't take down Destiny. No one was saying that after the fact.
Right.
That's good. That's good to hear. Competition is always good. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's only going to push Bungie. So that's good news.
Mm-hmm.
It's good news. And that's one. That's definitely a game. It's on my radar. I'm definitely looking for. And it's BioWare. It's their A team. We know their pedigree. So
no tired faces.
Would you say no tired faces?
No tired faces.
Yeah. So, Sam, man, welcome back. Great to have you back on, man. It's been a couple weeks, man.
Good to be here.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate your insight at E3.
Absolutely.
What's up, man?
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Sam.
I said absolutely. Thank you,
Sam. Big shout out to your brothers, man. They're wise individuals.
Oh yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah. B Money, man, is always a pleasure, man. Thank you again, man.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
Yeah. Real quick, Sam, I forgot to ask you. Do you guys have anything going on RGM related you want to talk about real quick?
More and more content. I'm still not quite done with the E3 information. There's still some more games I'm going to be writing about, including Call of Cthulhu and Days Gone.
Another Focus Home Interactive game.
Another big Focus Home Interactive game. That one's from Cyanide Studio.
Yeah,
who did Styx.
Nice.
I'll be writing about that one, some other stuff, and just as always, keep your eyes on us. We've got some big stuff planned coming up. Not quite ready to share yet, but good stuff.
Awesome, man. Awesome. B, what about Tick, man? What's going on with Tick?
There's always something going on there, but you guys can check us out tomorrow evening at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tick crew will be back in the building together. So got some interesting stuff to talk about, and looking forward to the second half of the year.
Awesome, man.
Nice.
Awesome. All right, gentlemen. Well, big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Always a great group of guys in the live chat talking video games. Big shout out to everyone. And we'll be back next week at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. And please don't forget to check out RGM, Four Guys with Quarters tomorrow at I always said 9 p.m. at 7 p.m. and Tick tomorrow at 11 p.m. Other than that, we'll catch you guys next week. See ya.
Later.